Welcome back to Marvel Media Podcast, where we talk about all things media, especially Marvel. I'm Blake, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Alex and Josh.
And welcome to episode 12 of Marvel Talk. Today we'll be discussing episode 5 of Moon Knight, which is currently available on stream on Disney+. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure you go watch it before you watch this video, as it will contain spoilers from the episode.
Hey, we kind of got our flashback.
We called it. We called it,
boys.
We
were talking about that. We got it. I mean, we've been calling it, and we were right this time. So, hey.
Knew it all along.
What is that? That was like the fourth time's the charm right there?
Yeah. But who's counting? We got it right.
Yeah, but really the main takeaway from this episode was, wow, I feel like I was completely wrong about the whole psych ward. I definitely thought this episode, we were kind of just going to move on from that. And like, it was kind of just I thought from last episode, it was going to just be just like this interesting trope of like, oh, is this actually real or not? And then this episode, they really focused on it. So I don't know. I got a little kind of confused of what's going on. I don't know how you guys feel.
Emotional damage. That's what this episode was.
Yeah, that's like, Phase 4 of Marvel is just going crazy for no reason with this stuff. I mean, this was wow. I mean, like you said, we got the flashbacks, but that was brutal.
Yeah, there's a few in there that was kind of hard to watch. Like, damn, I don't like where this is going. But again, dude, the acting is probably what makes those scenes hit that hard, because it's, dude, Oscar Isaac is fucking great, and I'm glad that Kevin Feige wanted to really have him on board for this. Apparently there was discussions, and pretty much whenever Oscar brought up an idea, he pretty much said yes, because he wanted him to do this project so bad. And I mean, I can see why. He's such a really, really good actor. But when it comes to this episode, just, I don't know what kind of technology they use. I know they definitely used a body double. I think they used his actual brother in real life. So, but the way that they had this edited, where you can see both of them in a single shot, them interacting, the whole Steven and Marc thing, when you can actually see them together on the same shot rather than in a mirror, is great. Like, I love that they decided to take this route just to get both of them, so you can really tell the difference between the two of them. And obviously the backstory of, how Steven came to be is, shoot, that was rough. So I don't know, dude. Just after watching this episode, it just has me kind of all over the place. I just don't know what to think of it. It's definitely wild. I also agree with Josh. I didn't see this coming. I thought it was going to be kind of that's gonna, you're going to leave off on the last episode, and then we're just going to have a little brief thing here, and then back to the real world. But no, they decided to really delve deep into the psyche of this character, and it was crazy, man. It was nuts.
Yeah, I mean, this whole episode was to get both of them, like you said. For a majority of this episode, we got to see both of them at the same time. Even up to three of them. I mean, it was younger him, but yeah, there was. I really liked how they did that, and once, like you were saying with Oscar Isaac, this is just insane how amazing he's been able to balance the two characters and switching and acting as the other one and changing up his mannerisms and how he talks and his facial expressions, just everything is unreal. I thought the episode overall was definitely in a way we thought they would have almost a whole flashback episode, because when you're bringing in a completely new character, it makes sense as an adult. We're getting Ms. Marvel, the TV show, obviously she's younger, so we won't probably see as much flashbacks in that as we're getting to see her become, Ms. Marvel. We're not introduced to her as Ms. Marvel compared to, obviously, Oscar Isaac and how he's portraying this Moon Knight. He was already Moon Knight when we met him, so we knew we'd have to get some kind of flashbacks. But yeah, it was very interesting, all the different doors. In a way, it kind of reminded me of WandaVision, of obviously when Agatha was making Wanda go back and show her all her like most traumatic moments to try to learn. It was a very similar thing of them trying to balance their scales and learn all that stuff. But I don't know. Did you guys think the same thing when we first saw the scene of him outside of a cab, and Mark was like, "Oh, I remember that," and Steven's like, "What are we looking at?" I'm assuming like we all pretty much had the same thing of like, "Oh, Jake Lockley. Like, are we finally getting something about this?" And then obviously they came back to that moment, and it was not at all related to Jake Lockley, but
Oh yeah, I definitely thought it
right,
was gonna be easy link
right,
there. It was like Jake. I mean, we knew. Obviously, we kept joking about the fact we were getting the flashback, but I mean, no Jake again
I don't know about that.
after 3 episodes
I don't know about
now
that.
of teasing. What do you mean no Jake
We
again?
When
got
he
him.
snapped back, when he snapped back in, and he had like the bruised nose and everything, his accent was like a New York accent. That wasn't a Mark or Steven accent. I don't know if you had a chance to like rewatch that, but it definitely
Yeah,
didn't
that I
seem like
don't
either
think
of
that
them.
was
And
one of the
he
two
was
that we
like,
know.
no, he definitely seemed very like condescending, and he's like, "Oh, I'm okay, Doc. I'm fine." And then he like he grabs like the
He
like
grabs
his
the
first
sharp
instinct
little
is the
thing. Yeah,
yeah, and he was like, I'm fine," and he was gonna stab himself to like wake
and all of a sudden
himself
we
up.
see
I'm
him
like,
and
what
he
the
has like a
fuck?
broken nose.
Yeah,
Like we never saw any
Oh,
type of
okay. I guess I didn't catch those.
yeah, when
Yeah.
he like was kind of switching in between going from like being with Arthur and then going back to the two of them. One of the times when he switched back that time, his accent was definitely not Mark or Steven. And it was that time when he grabs that little I don't know, it wasn't really a globe, but little glass type
it
pyramid
was
type
like
thing.
a yeah. That's what it was. Yeah,
And his accent was not the same. And all of a sudden, his nose after it was like all broken. And then when they came back, Arthur was like, they asked him something about them like injecting him, beating him, and Arthur was like, "Oh no, we can't do that anymore." And like, what are you talking about? But like, his nose was broken and bloodied up. So I think
hmm
we did get Jake, which
Hmm.
is kind of
even if it wasn't
interesting,
like a clear
right?
like indication, it wasn't like you saw his eyes like flare up, and then you saw the
Right.
transition. It was just like, oh, all of a sudden it's Jake, but you don't. No one says it directly. You just
Yeah,
get
it was
to hear
weird.
his
I don't
accent.
know. It's weird too how
Oh, wow. See, for my take, I didn't think that was Jake in any of those interactions. I thought it was more of Mark being confused in days of him trying to figure out what is real and what's not and dealing with the trauma of his memories. And then the other time was when we got Steven, and it was Steven's first interaction with the mom. And so that's why any of the interactions, I didn't think it was Jake, especially since they kept teasing with the hearts. Because, okay, what did you guys think about the whole scale? I thought the reason why the hearts weren't balanced was because, hey,
It
Jake, we
needed the
know Jake
third heart.
exists.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it needed the third heart. But then, you kill off Steven there, or kill off Steven,
They
and
balance.
then it's balanced. And I'm like, okay, that's a bit confusing because you know, I thought the whole point of them leading was they got to get Jake. They're going to find him, as they teased earlier in the psych ward from the memories, that they would probably find him there. And we just didn't get that. Instead, we got the whole interaction of Steven learning the fact that they do share the same body, which means they share the same abilities, and him, kind of going beast mode there at the end. So I don't know. For me, I viewed it that we did not get a Jake. But you two guys, you say otherwise. So
Yeah.
obviously, we're gonna see in the last, because the next episode's the last
Finale.
episode, right?
Yep.
yep. hmm
Yeah. So like, Jake has to appear. Something has to happen. And I think maybe now, since there's no Steven for the time being, this might be when Jake appears.
Right.
Because obviously Mark definitely is relying on these personalities, as we've seen now. He was relying on Steven to deal with his trauma as a childhood, as he wants at least one of his personalities to have all the good while he deals with all the bad. So now we're going to see probably him rely on Jake probably in the last episode. It's my prediction right now.
I mean, just in itself, the whole thing was brutal between his brother and him going to play. Unfortunately, they're following a role model of all of ours and Morbius trying to go into a cave. And unfortunately,
Uh-huh.
as we all are from the Chicago area, we know how just in the backyard, there's caves that'll flood like that every
There
day
is.
up
There
there
is,
in
man.
Chicago. So yeah, they were just trying to be like,
It's
they
tough
were
out
trying to be
here in
like Morbius,
Chirac.
how all of us grew up. He's a Marvel legend, and yeah, his brother then unfortunately drowned, and his mom turns out to be Amber Heard. She's very abusive, which causes him a lot of trauma. And then, obviously, before his mom breaks in, he gets this disorder, and I mean, honestly, obviously, we're joking about all this. This is a serious topic, but
I'm not. They missed out on the pooping on the bed scene right there for sure.
But he then obviously dissociates and creates Stephen Grant, who he watched the little shows and whatever, and they replicated it going into the cave. And I mean, it was just like you've said all along, Josh, with how you see their relationship as like a brotherly thing, because in a way, Steven seems to be very clearly based off of his brother. I know the mom only referred to him as Roro. I don't remember catching his actual name. But I mean, it seems very clearly that he basically created, in a way, his brother, a mix of his brother and the Stephen Grant character. And his whole speech about like, I gave you the perfect life, like you don't need to see like what she did to us, like I gave you all of that. It was very like emotional and like touching. That, I mean, it's the same person, but obviously different identities that he tried to protect and create this one, which is why I think Jake was created because of the brutality, is what I think. Because Steven, they go in the room and there's all the bodies, and Mark's like, oh, Dubai, New York, blah, blah. And then Steven says something about, you remember all of them? Like, how do you remember all them, blah, blah. And then Mark responds like, you try taking life and see the toll it takes. So my guess is Jake was created as a way to dissociate from all the violence and stuff, and that's why Jake is the more brutal personality, because Mark basically couldn't handle that stuff. As much of a mercenary he is, just that's why Jake is this fighter, boxer character that maybe we will see in the finale, and maybe it's him and Mark who kind of have to come to terms with each other and let Jake go wild, is my guess. Who knows though?
Yeah, I actually thought that Steven finding out about Mom would be the creation of Jake. But as we've seen, that's not the case anyways,
Right.
or maybe, I don't think it is anyways from what they showed. But I thought that's what they were kind of leading up to, because Mark was making such a big deal about Steven not even seeing these scenes, even though Mark knows that Steven's somewhat in his own personal brain of his and his own memories kind of knew that Mom is dead,
Right.
as we found out when he was they finally admit to that. But yeah, I don't know, I just was overall shocked that Jake really wasn't in this episode. I know we argued earlier about it, but
Right. We
I
didn't
was
get a
just
clear.
surprised by
Right.
that.
We don't get a clear confirmation.
But I wasn't bothered by that.
I'm not
I thought
either.
it,
Not at all.
obviously this episode was fantastic. The pacing of it was great. And hey, shout out to them for making a dedication to this psych ward bit of still kind of confusing
Right,
me
bringing
a
it
bit
back.
of what is real and what's not. Because, I mean, the fact they went 2 episodes into it, and then the interaction with Dr. Harold, it was like, dude, I don't know for sure or not. I can't tell you 100% positivity that what's going on is actually going on.
I actually had that
Yeah.
when I think it must have been the last time when Steven eventually went to Arthur, and Arthur's like, "Oh, you checked
Yeah,
yourself."
that Steven scene?
He's like, "You checked yourself in here," and I thought he was about to say right after the incident at the museum with the whole jackal in the beginning. I thought that's what he was about to say, because we saw when he got fired, that one guy told him like, "Oh," and gave him the pamphlet. That's my first thought. I was like, "Wait, he checked himself in after that?" And then he said, "When your mom died," and then I was like, "Okay." And then got back into watching it. But that was my first thought. I was like, oh, I thought he was about to say you checked yourself in after you got fired from the museum. And I was about to be like, wait, now I'm even more confused what's happening. But thankfully it wasn't that. Otherwise, I would have been completely like, I don't know what is happening right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, the episode overall was just phenomenal from everything. Pace, just acting, once again. Ethan Hawke as this doctor, Harrow is phenomenal as well. Just everybody is killing it. Sad we didn't get Layla, but what an episode.
Yeah, it was. I think we all said the same thing. This episode was wild because it's like I'm pretty sure none of us expected this episode to be what it was, and it was
No, I mean we called the flashback, so yeah,
wild.
we all said that we knew.
Josh
called off that it was like a brotherly type relationship between the two.
100%.
I said
I knew it was going to be like this.
I said last
in
episode
Chicago
he was dead.
too.
I said he is dead. This is basically like hell. So yeah, no, we definitely knew this was happening all along. Never once were we wrong or confused.
It was because it was Chicago. There's a connection
True.
right there. You know, I stayed here in Illinois, so the connection was going crazy.
That's very true. Another big thing that we haven't talked about is they confirmed the goddess. I don't remember her name.
Tauret.
She confirmed about the ancestral planes with Black Panther, bringing in the tie-in of not only that part, which makes sense because Boss is the goddess. She's a part of the whole ancient Heliopolis type thing. But she also mentioned how this is just one of like the afterlives, which basically kind of means that every, in a way, religion has their own, they have their own place in like the afterlife. They go to where they go. But I just thought the fact that she said something about, oh, you should see the ancestral planes confirming with Black Panther and stuff. I thought that was really interesting to get that connection.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Marvel's take on like religious gods and afterlife have been just fantastic.
Right.
They've been really fun and well done to each of its cultures.
And now we know Zeus and that whole mythology is coming with Thor, Love and Thunder. We saw Zeus in the trailer, so they're also going to go into that religion type thing. So
yeah, I thought it was funny, like, you know, Moon Knight was talking about before the show came out that there really isn't going to be any setup or really much connections to the MCU. But I mean, so far what we've seen, there's definitely these tiny little connections that are either just confirming things we already thought or believed. Like, for example, there was a Loki connection where one of the goons that Mark was fighting had an emblem on his back that was one of Kang's
the
variants.
Ramatut or whatever his name is, that one.
Yeah, so I mean, we're already potentially seeing effects of Loki.
Stop the cap.
Earlier than we thought.
Earlier than we thought? You mean way later than we thought, my guy?
Well, I mean, after what we've seen so far, because we're thinking we're not going to see him in anything from Loki for a hot minute. So, I'll take anything. But Alex, what was your thoughts then on like the whole psych ward? Like, do you think it's real, or are you just as confused as like Blake and I?
No, I'm just as confused. I think my best educated guess is that it's like just that middle area where he's not completely dead. Like, yeah, she said that he's dead, but there's still possibility for him to come back. And I don't think that he would be dead until he were to fall off of the boat. So that just pretty much confirmed that it's kind of like that middle area where you're not living, but you're not also dead yet either. And then, like she said, it's kind of just like his version of what that would be. And then he even said, like I guess Steven was like, why would this be it? And then Mark's like, because we're insane. It's because we're insane. That's pretty much what he said. So it was like, yeah, it makes sense. But in terms of like the story, the way they're using it, I still am confused. Like, I still don't know what to think. Yeah. It's so, because it's just so mind fucking. Because it's like, I don't know what the fuck to think. The whole thing.
I mainly don't know what to think of like. Yeah, when he transports, right? When he goes back to, he's getting interrogated, not really interrogated, but he's in therapy, right? I don't know what to think of that.
Right.
Of what realm is he in at that point? Because he's switching. Because, like, I get, you know, that he has, like, his version of the afterlife, you know, the hippo was talking about, you know, it comes in all these versions, right? So you can make sense of that, of how, like, last episode, like, I thought, oh, it was just kind of some mindfuckery. But the fact they kept going to these transports in this almost different realm with Dr. Harrow, it's like, what is this? What is
Right.
going
Yeah.
on? And what's the connection to it?
Yeah, I mean, just the whole thing was, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on? Obviously, at the end of it, Steven ends up going overboard and turning to stone sand type thing, and then Marc gets transported to the field, reads a field or something like that. I don't remember the exact name. What are your guys' thoughts? I mean, we're assuming Marc obviously has to find a way back to, I guess, life, back onto, our world. Do you think Steven is gone forever? Or what are your guys' thoughts?
Maybe he's going to be absent, and then I'm guessing, like Josh kind of mentioned earlier, that Jake's going to come out and help Marc, and then maybe in a post-credit scene we're going to get, oh, guess what? Steven is not really gone. He's still in there. That's like what I would.
Steven's just going to take over the body for the end credit scene, and all of a sudden he's just going to be Later's Gators, and that's how the show ends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Winks at the camera, just breaks the fourth wall.
That would be fire.
What are your thoughts, Josh?
Okay, so I didn't think. I don't know. It's more conflicting because I thought it was odd that this whole time, when it comes to like their person, it obviously has like the split personality, right? But they all are sharing the same base body. But when it comes to any of these Greek gods, they treat the personalities as their own individual person, especially like when it came to judging the person's soul. And then like when the hippo actually like grabbed the hearts out, there's two hearts, even though it's coming from the same body, and they are sharing the same body, same mind practically there. So that leaves to the fact of Steven could generally just be dead right there. Because according to all these other Egyptian gods, Steven is a person in himself. He is a separate person. So even in their own afterlife, that's why Steven is separated from Marc. And it isn't like they're still sharing the same body. So technically, what I'm viewing is Steven's dead right now.
Right.
But now, since how big of a character Steven has been, I'm going to obviously assume Steven is not dead. But if they did kill him off, that's pretty brutal. That's a tough loss right there. But since the fact that I'm going off the assumption that he can't be dead, it's kind of had almost no impact, really. I was like, damn, that's tough. But I know you're coming back, right?
Yeah, but what if he doesn't?
But if he doesn't, yeah.
I mean, I think there is a way they could just kind of loophole it, because she said like all these souls are coming in before they're being judged. So obviously they could kind of use that as like a loophole of like, wait, everything that's happened in the past like 10 minutes in the afterlife, like we gotta chill. Something's going on upstairs, reverse. And kind of like it's rewind time, baby. You know what I mean? Bring it back. But personally, I'm conflicted. Like you said, I think Steven is dead as of now, but I think obviously they can bring him back. I'm conflicted if I want him to be dead or not, though. Because part of me, I do want him to be dead. I think that would be... But I also don't like that thought, because then I feel like they're kind of treating dissociative identity disorder in a wrong way of like, you can just come to terms with your personalities and like you'll be perfectly fine. You're just one person. You don't split anymore, blah, blah, blah. Which like, from an accurate portrayal part and like for you just know mental illness in general, I don't really like that. But at the same time, in the Marvel world, I kind of would like if Steven is dead here and it's like it's just Marc, like we don't even get Jake. Like if we just got just Marc and he had to come to terms with all this stuff, I think that would be like a super like brutal way, and like it would make us like obviously rewatch this show and like appreciate Steven so much more. And I think like it would make us appreciate Marc and like all this stuff that he had to go through to like come to terms with like everything. I think that would be cool, but like I said, I don't really like that portrayal of dissociative identity disorder if they go that route, which if we're being honest, I'm with you guys. I think Steven is going to come back, and I think there's a strong potential of Jake, and there's going to be three of them, just more in unison. But personally, I don't know. I wouldn't mind if they
just
did.
Just add some final points to that. You kind of make a good point there. I feel like now, obviously we're assuming the Marvel way, the hero wins, right? We're going to assume here that Marky Boy pulls off the comeback. And probably then at the end, that means these souls will return. And then that's probably where we're going to see Steven, probably more towards the end of the finale, make a return, right? And have that brotherly bond happen at the end. But I do agree with you that it would be like, you can't just eliminate this personality,
Right, and just like,
but you're also dealing with Egyptian gods,
right,
and judgment when it comes to that. But I think it goes one or two ways here. If Steven dies, we're going to get an introduction to Jake for sure. And then we're probably going to see Mark's disorder just go crazy, basically. Because, once you get that one break off personality, that's kind of when it starts splitting. And we start getting more personalities and more until you kind of try to get it under control as best you can. But so we might see it that way when it comes to his mental illness. Otherwise, I think, like you said, Blake, we'll see Steven make a return with like all these other souls towards the end of the conflict in the final episode.
So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I kind of wouldn't mind if Steven's gone, but at the same time, I don't think that would be the right way to portray this if he's just gone. And so I don't know. I mean, I'm excited. Like we said, this show is just amazing. This episode was phenomenal, even though obviously it didn't have. I mean, we'll just touch on this real quick. Just we saw him finally, how him and Khonshu kind of met and became, and we saw Khonshu just. I mean, it's very clear Mark was about to kill himself. Very clear. He has the gun to his head. And Khonshu kind of just is like, "Oh, do you want to live or die?" And Mark's kind of just like, "Yeah, I don't know what's happening here. Kind of don't want to. Almost just want to die." And Khonshu's like, "Hey, man, you want to come to life? Want to be my avatar? Serve justice for me?" And Mark still was kind of like, not really. As he's like looking at all the blood, and Khonshu's like, "Life or death, man. Come on, do it." And then finally he's like, "Okay, I guess so." And then Khonshu's like, "Got him, idiot, buffoon. You're mine now." But yeah, overall, I think this episode again is probably like a 9.5 to me. That's pretty similar to what I ranked last episode, I think. Obviously, this one's different. We didn't get the action. We just got that quick, his initial turning into Moon Knight and getting healed from that stuff. But yeah, I think it was a 9.5. I loved the backstory and everything about it, how dark in a way Marvel got in like a different tone of not like the bloody violence dark, but like just obviously
psychologically dark.
A child being killed from drowning in a cave is very dark for Marvel, especially. So I loved it. 9.5, I would say.
I agree. I would also say 9.5. Great acting.
Oh, for me, just to keep tradition going, I gotta go. It's this, in my opinion. I genuinely think this is my favorite episode of the series so far. So, but also keep tradition alive. I'm giving it a 9.6. It won me over with the Steven interaction of Steven kind of giving that forgiveness that Mark is so desperately seeking.
Yeah, that scene was deep.
Him blaming that he killed his brother, and then also you see that he gets kind of forgiveness from Steven even for all the killing he's done with Khonshu, because he's like, dude, you got manipulated there. Like, I mean, you are dying, and he's just straight up lying to you. And so I definitely like that interaction. So for me, 9.6.
All right, Alex, any closing thoughts here?
Not really, man. I really want to see the next episode. Like, really bad. I want to see how this wraps up, because honestly, as it currently stands, it's by far the best Marvel show that Marvel has put out. Easily.
It's crazy that we get the finale the next day we get Doctor Strange.
Yeah, so
that's gonna be wild.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, it's insane.
Damn.
Love this show.
All right, well, that pretty much wraps up this episode. Be sure to follow along on our social media: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Be on the lookout for our next video coming soon, which we'll probably post on. I mean, we got like a week. Probably more of just solid, a bunch of Marvel. We got the Moon Knight finale. We have Doctor Strange, where we're going to obviously talk about that. Probably even something before about Doctor Strange or after, and like where it could lead to. So leave a like on this episode. Comment down below if there's anything we missed or anything that you guys liked. And we'll see you next time.
Peace.